5 days a month, 12 months a year, 6 years of school equals about 365 days. The number of school days many girls and people who menstruate miss during their adolescence. Why though? Why are people missing school? Why are they exiled from their communities for a week every month? Menstrual poverty is an issue affecting 500 million people every single day. Inadequate access to menstrual sanitary products like pads, tampons, cups, and bathing resources, paired with the fear of getting teased or bullied for menstruating, hinders people's ability to go to school and work while feeling dignified. For teenagers who menstruate, menstrual poverty means missing school, falling behind, and never catching up, further perpetuating the cycle of gender inequality. My name is Anika Gandhi, and I'm a senior in high school from the New York metropolitan area. Throughout high school, I've researched the impacts of menstrual poverty and stigma on women. I feel strongly about breaking down menstrual taboos because, as a Jain, my family's religion traditionally exiles menstruating people from society. And while any person of any gender can menstruate, menstrual poverty and stigma most directly affect girls' access to education and human rights. According to an article from the NIH, menstrual stigma is one of the primary perpetrators of menstrual poverty. Cultures around the world shame people for menstruating, exiling them from society for a week every month while refusing to discuss this natural bodily phenomenon. Over one's lifetime, they can spend upwards of 6 years menstruating, and during these 6 years, many are displaced from the public sphere, like schools, places of worship, workplaces, to name a few. And often, people cannot even leave their homes, as these cultures advertise that people menstruating are impure and will pollute the allegedly pure realms of society. Additionally, given the stigma surrounding menstruation and the idea of impurity, when people cannot afford adequate menstrual hygiene products, they are subject to leakage and staining of their clothes, which can lead to severe bullying, hurting people's mental health and self-esteem. By stigmatizing menstruation, many communities are not compelled to extend kindness towards those menstruating or advocate for better menstrual hygiene products or raise awareness for menstrual poverty and get funding to end the crisis. As a result, menstrual stigma interrupts students' learning and education, hindering strides towards gender equity. With students staying home, unable to go to school due to severe pain, lack of menstrual products, or fear of getting bullied or shamed, they are falling behind their non-menstruating peers, who, most of the time, are boys. By not being able to participate in the public sphere, people who menstruate cannot be out in the world, making decisions and doing and being as they have the right to, which is perpetrating gender disparities. In some cultures, when a biological female who identifies as a girl begins menstruating as a young teenager, the culture believes that the girl is signaling she is ready to get married. Most people are between the ages of 10 and 15 when they begin menstruating, so these unions violate children's human rights. Additionally, many girls in these positions cannot afford menstrual hygiene products, so they have to sacrifice their childhood out of desperation to afford menstrual hygiene products. These girls can no longer go to school, they're often abused and lose their rights as children. Although cultures worldwide often value extensive customs reproaching people who menstruate, they simultaneously avoid discussing this natural phenomenon. Consequently, many young people don't know what a period is before getting one. So, when young people begin menstruating, many are anxiety-ridden, thinking they're ill. The UN talks about a girl named Kushi from northern India who began menstruating and thought she was dying from cancer, having never heard of a period before. This menstrual taboo, born from menstrual stigma, is yet another reason why menstruation poverty exists today. Not enough people know about menstruation, the way it affects people, the impacts of inadequate menstrual products. Without educating people about menstruation and this global health crisis, We cannot get the funding to fight menstrual poverty and break down the stigma. The United Nations defines human rights as the right that every human has by virtue of their human dignity. Humans have the right to non-discrimination, gender equality, and sanitation, so menstruation is directly related to human dignity. When people cannot access safe bathing facilities or sanitary products, they cannot menstruate while feeling dignified, as others will exclude them and shame them. Without addressing this health crisis, discriminatory beliefs will inflate the effects of menstrual stigma and poverty, hurting those who menstruate and worsening gender inequality and inequity. While talking to Vanessa Zamar, who is the founder of Être, a feminist collective working to combat menstrual stigma and poverty in Lebanon, I learned that the best way to combat menstrual poverty is by treating it like the public health crisis it is. However, not enough people recognize that this is a public health crisis. First and foremost, we need to talk about menstruation and menstrual poverty to advocate for increased funding for research on hygiene products and medical menstrual issues because the topics are under-researched. Then, Zamar also said that by talking about menstruation as an everyday topic rather than something considered impure or dirty, we can make sure that people are happy with the menstrual products they have and are comfortable talking to doctors about menstruation. Lastly, Zamar said that after the pandemic, many countries are experiencing hyperinflation, making menstrual products like pads even less affordable for people and worsening menstrual poverty, which is why we need to make more impactful changes to fighting this crisis. Menstrual poverty is the essence of injustice, violating human rights. The UN discusses education as a fundamental right for girls globally. So by letting menstrual poverty prevail, we are violating millions of people's rights as they miss school, lose access to higher education, and are married young. Some countries like New Zealand, France, Kenya, and South Korea, among others, have made strides towards ending menstrual poverty by making hygiene products free in public facilities, but it is not enough. We need to shift our perspective on menstrual poverty and cement it as a public health crisis that affects 500 million people every single day. This begins with breaking the stigma and educating ourselves about menstruation to erase ideas of impurity associated with periods. We can best serve people suffering from menstrual poverty by amplifying their voices, hearing their struggles, and listening to their needs. We then need to continue making more products and sanitation facilities that are accessible and affordable for everyone. Since, according to a US News and World Report article, menstrual products can cost upwards of 10% of one's monthly income in parts of the world. These products need to be safe and prevent leakage. Addressing menstrual stigma and poverty through these methods will allow us to end interruptions in students' education, as they won't have to focus on feeling ashamed or worry about affording products, allowing people who menstruate to keep up with their schoolwork like their non-menstruating peers, and allowing us to create greater gender equity. Together, we can make sure that everyone feels dignified while menstruating every single day.